Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So it's definitely been a very wild, wacky couple of days on Twitch. It's gotten wild enough that we're talking about their TOS once again and concepts that are currently trending like artistic nudity, because that sort of concept is now allowed on Twitch, because yesterday Twitch decided to completely revamp their guidelines on adult content, and certain features like nudity are now allowed under certain contexts that are included in these updated guidelines. It has been a very strange 24 hours involving Twitch, and we're going to go over all these new developments in a second. But how did we get here? Real quick, a few days ago, we covered this in a video. There was another Twitch meta that was trending, and like all the other Twitch metas, this was involving highly sexualized content, where OnlyFans creators were going onto Twitch topless and showing basically everything but their actual nipples, and they were doing this to get viral attention. Well, eventually, after about a week of people complaining about this, some of the people doing this were in fact banned, albeit 2 days at a time, but nonetheless, they were banned, and a lot of people thought, well, that's the end of that trend and the conversations stemming from it. Well, no, Twitch would completely revamp that conversation yesterday when they decided to, well, just turn around and undo everything they just did and allow things like the topless meta under the new category of artistic nudity, which will be allowed under their new TOS. Yes, they completely revamped all of their guidelines involving sexual content, and you can see it in their updated tweet right here saying, "We've gotten feedback that our policies around sexual content are unclear, so we've drawn clear boundaries between what is and isn't permitted on Twitch. We also recognize that not everyone wants to see certain content, so we're updating our criteria for our homepage recommendations." Now, before we get into some examples, just pause and reflect for a second that Twitch basically revamped their entire, not only guidelines, but their site's identity to avoid banning like 5 people. Because that Twitch meta that everyone was talking about this week involved really like 5 people. Okay, there was 5 people going viral for doing the topless meta, and only 1 or 2 of them got banned. So instead of just banning those people for pushing the TOS of the site, they decided to rework all of the rules for everybody and essentially make themselves known publicly as a space that is friendly to and hosts a lot of adult content. Now, let's see the type of stuff that is now allowed, or at least going to be confirmed as something that will be allowed. So this includes things involving artistic nudity, whatever that means. Like, I guess you can start helicopter spinning your meat as long as you put like a little top hat on it or something. You can call that arts. I guess that's allowed. But they have things like game nudity, body painting mature games, and honestly, there's some positives like things for artists. Like, artists now can draw not safe for work content on stream. And we go a little further, right? We get some more ridiculous things that they're now allowing, right? This is starting to muddy the waters, where they're allowing things now like twerking, grinding, and pole dancing. Now, a lot of people are okay with a lot of this updated adult content as long as it's hidden behind layers of warnings and things like that. However, these things I just mentioned are not required to have a label. So you can have a twerking stream without a label. Now, why is that a problem? Well, this site has a lot of children. In fact, the website says it's 13 plus, and Twitch's app says it's 12 plus. Now, that's a bit of a problem when a lot of adult content is being openly hosted on their platform, including things like nudity. And by the way, a lot of the filters that they're adding to this content is not working, and it's popping up on people's home pages, but we'll get into that in a second. Now, remember, guys, app stores are rabid about clamping down on adult content being hosted on their apps. Okay, remember what happened to Discord or Tumblr? They had to completely restructure the way that they treat not safe for work content because places like Apple were threatening to pull them from their app stores if they didn't change how sexual content is featured on their platforms. Do you think they're gonna treat Twitch any differently? No, they're gonna have to do something because a 12 plus app should not have nudity on it. I don't think that's a Puritan thing to say. I think that's pretty agreeable. So they're going to have to change how they're even promoting their website from an age standpoint. And this is something people have been testing out too. I can't play this video. This person actually screen recorded their entire experience. And I can't really show it because there's a lot of adult content popping up. And this video, if it's not demonetized already, this one would have put a nail in the coffin. But basically, this user created an account on Twitch called 13-year-old VTuber fan. And they went through the process of creating their account, including listing their date of birth, which they listed as 2010, meaning they're 13 years old. And after creating this account, they went through Twitch and immediately were hit with streams including adult content. In fact, it included recommendations of streams that had the new mature labels that were supposed to be hidden behind barriers to prevent people who don't want to see it from seeing it in the first place, including in cases like this, people who are registered as children. Now, things would get very interesting last night when MarinaVT decided to jump on this trend. Now, you might recognize this VTuber. We've talked about her in the past. Here's some of her greatest hits. She is a supporter of the Hogwarts Legacy harassment campaign. She is someone who falsely accused the VTuber Taiga of being a pedophile and refused to apologize after he was exonerated from those claims. She is also someone who shamed people for going to alternative platforms like Kick because of the supposedly problematic content being hosted there. While seeing these updates to their TOS, Marina falsely assumed that she had the full reins to do whatever she wanted and jumped at the fact that she could show her fully nude model to an audience on an app that is 13-year-old plus. But a lot of people are making tweets like this, mocking the situation and the absurdity of it, saying artistic nudity, thank you, Twitch, wow. Basically saying, okay, someone has the full gamut to do whatever they want under this new artistic nudity standard. And just to give you an idea, this is obviously heavily censored here, but on the left, she had a little PowerPoint presentation of all of her fully nude artwork. In the center, she has her topless model. And on the right, she has her fully nude model. Fully nude, head to toe. Nudity on multiple layers on the same screen. Well, going forward, she would try to capitalize on all of this attention she was getting, not realizing she was in the wrong neighborhood, okay? This is normie Twitter. Not only do they hate lewd-tubers, they hate VTubers, okay? These people are going to hate you no matter what. So jumping in the replies of tweets like that saying, oh, hey, it's me, you're going to get made fun of. These people don't like you. I'm sorry to say. They don't like VTubers in general. They're certainly not going to like what you're doing to take advantage of these supposed new boundaries you can enter with your VTuber model. But yeah, she would try to, like I said, capitalize on this. She was retweeting every tweet covering her stream, even though most of them are pointing out the absurdity of what she's doing. Well, you know what she didn't retweet? This one, where she got banned this morning from Twitch. I never saw this one coming. Who would have thought? Well, if you knew anything about the updated TOS, you knew this was going to happen. And it's surprising for someone who, by the way, used to be a teacher to be this illiterate and not actually read the rules. And it's very clear that this stuff was not going to be allowed for VTubers. So I saw some tweets like this. It says, how long until a VTuber thinks the you're allowed to draw nude art clause means they're allowed to make their VTuber model nude and get banned? Well, that's exactly what happened. Let's see some of the rules. Well, they're very, very precise. They say avatars that translate streamers' real-life movement into digital characters, aka VTubers, are subject to our adult nudity and attire policies and may be prohibited. In fact, other users did a little Spark Notes guide to make this even more clear. Here's some of those attire-related rules. Basically, you can't have things like underboob, and certain areas have to be covered up, like areas from your hip down to your buttocks, as they say here, and things like that. And yeah, fully nude model, I don't think it's going to survive this set of rules. And, a lot of people were pointing this out. Basically, a lot of people viewed these updated TOS as a big win for not safe for work drawing streams and artists. And it's not just like fully nude stuff, right? Like, yeah, some people are going to go on Twitch and draw giant schlongs now and feel like they're empowered to do so. But basically, we've seen artists get banned for the most benign and innocent artwork as long as someone out there finds whatever, even a fully clothed anime girl as something sexual. We've seen people get banned for stuff like that. So it's a big win for artists, but unfortunately VTubers like Marina took advantage of this situation for their own selfish purposes to try to get a quick buck and some attention. And now they're making VTubers look bad as a reputation, but also they're making Twitch more cognizant of VTubers, and they're probably going to clamp down harder on VTubers with their new rules because of people like Marina. And besides all of that, it's just a very bad look, like I said, for VTubers. It makes them look like they're a bunch of, people trying to take advantage of this trend, and it's just really, really silly to see. But this idea of artists getting a win out of this, I think a lot of people can celebrate that if there's proper measures in place to put barriers up for those who don't want to see fully not safe for work content. And that's what Twitch is claiming they're doing. So one of the things that Twitch has announced in this TOS is that they're going to remove adult content, including sexually themed content, away from the homepage. So that's part of the concern, right? Like, you're allowing this not safe for work content, and you don't want people, including children, who are simply opening the app to see this stuff recommended to them on the front page. And Twitch is saying, don't worry, we're not going to allow this stuff on our front page. If they have the adult label on their stream, that won't happen. They will not be featured on the homepage. Well, they lied. Basically, this stuff is popping up left and right on homepages. In fact, yesterday, Kai did a big stream with Nicki Minaj, and he had these sexual themes tag, and yet he was featured front and center on the homepage. And this is a stream with over 300,000 active viewers yesterday, by the way. And this was featured on the homepage. So these labels are not preventing people from going on the front page and exposing 13 plus users to adult content. And a lot of people have pointed out some very simple solutions to this. Like, if you want to have this stuff, that's fine. There's a very easy runaround. Just blur the thumbnails. This is something other sites do with adult content. If you're worried that casual passerbys are going to see adult content in the thumbnails of streams, just blur them out and say, put like a warning on it saying adult content. So no one's confused. No one's going to be accidentally exposed to not safe for work content if they don't want to be. And they're not going to click on a stream not thinking there will be adult content in it when there is. And that's a very easy fix, and yet Twitch hasn't done that. So there's no preventative measures for thumbnails of streams. This stuff is popping up on the front pages and home pages of users, including children. And yeah, again, you don't have to be a Puritan to understand that this is not a very good idea for a site that has a lot of children. And I hate the idea. People make the argument, well, porn's so easy to find. You can just go to the hub and places like that. It's so easy for people to get there. Why do we have to clamp down so hard on Twitch? That's a terrible argument. You might as well just allow it everywhere, right? On every website, because it's so easy to get it from sites that are dedicated to it. If you want to keep those things separate, that's the way it should be, right? Adult content should be hosted on adult platforms. And it shouldn't be allowed to be on Twitch with no restrictions and no ways to prevent children from seeing it. That is not being a Puritan or a boomer or anything like that. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to think about and to be concerned about. And this whole thing is ridiculous. As people like this have pointed out, this whole thing could have been avoided if they just banned like the 5 people who are taking advantage of the latest meta. That's it. Instead, they acted like these OnlyFans creators were being persecuted because they're women and that the rules were unfairly targeting them. And instead, they now have completely changed the identity of Twitch to cater to those very small number of people. Of course, a lot of the people getting in trouble for the sexual content guidelines are women because they're women promoting their OnlyFans and pushing TOS with the hopes of getting a lot of attention for their adult content before they eventually get banned and then unbanned a few days later. And then they repeat that cycle over and over. This whole situation is so ridiculous to me. There's W's in there, of course, I think in terms of artistic freedom and things like that. But Twitch has completely changed its identity and has not put in the proper boundaries and labels and things like that, the way that they're claiming that they are, by the way. And they're exposing people to not safe for work content who might not want to see it. And they're also exposing their 13 plus users to things they shouldn't be seeing in the first place. And it's right there on their homepage. It's ridiculous. I think that's a pretty fair thing to be concerned about, but that's going to do it for this video. I know there's a lot to talk about. I know this is some pretty controversial topics, so feel free to share all of your thoughts about them in the comments section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.